Remember that video I made a year ago where I watched 23 animated movies? Well, this time I watched 48 of them. Let's quickly talk about them. Also, these are my opinions, of course, so please don't get upset with any takes I might have. I'm just a snail. Be gentle. Here's my new rating system as a reference. I'll give you guys some time to look it over. Okay, let's go. Everyone knew this was going to be an absolute banger sequel, and it sure did deliver. Raising the stakes, having even more insane animation than the first movie, and having so much going on at once that leaves you plenty of meat to chew on and discuss. Although I do feel as though the energy is a bit too much at times, it's still a fantastic sequel, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they'll end the story. High 8. Yeah, I wasn't really feeling this one. Visually, it's fantastic, and I love the character designs for the most part, but the story felt like it left a lot to be desired, especially with the characters themselves. It didn't really grab me, or move me, or do much, honestly. Meh. 5. This is one of the stupidest animated movies I have ever seen, yet I couldn't help but laugh at its stupidity as it went on. I had a lot of fun with it, but I'm not sure if I'll ever see it again. Low 7. Not bad for a Pixar sequel. Although the setting is a little lame, the characters more than make up for it, and it tells a pretty solid story of Mike and Sully getting along for the first time, and Mike finding his purpose. High 7. Wanted to see this one since it's notorious for being one of Disney's worst, and while I wouldn't exactly call it terrible, there is some positive merit to it. I won't lie when I say that I was getting extremely bored with this after a while and just found myself not really caring about where it was going. Just very dull and definitely a low point in Disney's filmography. Meh. 5. This movie is what happens when you combine the weird fantasy elements of a Studio Ghibli film and Cartoon Saloon's Wolfwalkers. Not bad, but it does wear its influences on its sleeve a little too much. It just reminded me of other movies that does this type of thing better, and thus it feels uninspired. 6. Really cute short that celebrates pretty much every Disney character ever made. It was fun to see the interactions with each other and how well they blended the animation styles together. Everyone has said this, but this is the true 100th anniversary celebration. Not, well, we'll get to it. Low 8. The best aspect of this movie is the animation for me. Everything else? Yeah, it doesn't really work. The writing is incredibly weak for me, and the art style is a little hit or miss. It was cool in some spots, but otherwise, meh. 5. A lot of people tend to give this movie mixed reviews, mainly because they say the shorts aren't as interesting and the live-action interludes are pointless. But honestly, I really thought this was great. I loved all the shorts, and I felt like none of them fell flat. The live-action parts are a little but they never really overstayed their welcome. I thought this was overall a really great time, and I feel like it should be recognized some more. High 8. I know it's a Disney classic and all, but this movie kinda annoyed me. Everyone is just being such a nuisance to Alice the whole time, and it wasn't really entertaining after a while. No wonder she starts begging to go back home by the end. Still though, it's imaginative, it has fun character designs, and it does have a memorable final act, but it's just not one of my favorites. 6. I'm probably completely alone on this, unlike the entire planet, but I didn't really think this movie was that bad. Everyone calls this a bottom 3 Disney movie because of how boring it is, but I didn't really feel that way, surprisingly. Sure, it's lacking in some departments for sure, but I still enjoyed myself with it. High 7. I usually put off watching this movie because of how it looked. It reminded me of The Polar Express or Mars Needs Moms. You know, those CGI movies that look a little uncanny. But nah, this movie freaking rules. Amazing action sequences, very compelling story, great characters, good humor, good writing, it has it all. The third act is a little anticlimactic, but it still works very well for me. High 8. Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I watched this mainly because of the adorable mouse girl main character. The story itself is, yeah, not the greatest. It would have been fine if they had just tweaked some elements to make it work, but it goes in directions that just leaves me scratching my head. By the 45-minute mark, I just kinda stopped caring. Cute designs, but that's all. Meh. 5. I watched this just for the fuck of it, and yeah, it was fun. Not everything worked, some scenes dragged, some scenes tried too hard for humor, but it was fun seeing these two universes interact with each other. Low 7. I don't usually indulge myself with Paw Patrol since a lot of it tends to be very monotonous, but I surprisingly enjoyed the first movie well enough, and the same case with this one. This one is a little more generic, however, since it's technically a superhero film, so they have to be a little bit more silly, a little more actiony, more of this, more of that, but I still found it cute. But they should stop it here. Low 7. I was looking forward to this movie since I heard a bunch of people talking about it when it came out at the time, and while it does have somewhat of a rough start, I'd found myself actually getting into this quite a bit, and I found the humor really good. However, once they introduced that third act drama, it kinda lost me. I wasn't really feeling the more generic route it ended up going in. It lost that charm that it had built up. Still though, it's not a bad watch. Good for a few laughs. 6. Very pretty movie, done by the guy who also made Weathering with You, which I thought was great. This movie though, I don't know. There's just something off about it with the story. I couldn't really connect with it, and instead of just enjoying with what I was seeing, I just kept telling myself, but why? Why is any of this happening? Why is this a thing? Not bad though, it's just not one I would watch again. 6. Another one from Disney that people often disregard as being boring. I thought it was decent. It had cool action sequences and a neat world they put together. Some parts could have been handled better, but nothing that really brought it down completely for me. I'd say this one should be recognized more as well. High 7. I made a whole review for this already, but this movie knows how to get me to smile. It's funny, has fantastic animation, and one of my favorite on-screen couples I have seen in a long time. The story is very simplistic, and I maybe could have done without the human threat they threw in, but it's still such a great time that I almost don't even care. Low 8. How could something so cute and wholesome have such dark backstories to it? That's this movie in a nutshell. Orphanage children getting along after getting away from some seriously messed up situations. It's very well done, has great characters, and it's handled with so much heart. High 8. Love the art style of this movie and how it chooses to tell its story. It's really unique. However, I just wasn't a fan of the antagonist. They build him up to be such a threat and giving one of the main characters trauma and a reason to go after him. But then they show him paired up with these idiotic guys working for him to play off for humor, and I just couldn't take them seriously at all. The movie is very short at only an hour and 10 minutes, but even then I felt like it was dragging a bit toward the end. Not bad overall though, it has a cool vibe to it. 6. Oh ho ho, here we go. Everyone was shitting on this thing pretty hard when it came out, so I went in with low expectations, and yeah, low expectations were met. Uninteresting characters, an animation style that doesn't know what the hell it wants to be, the songs don't really hit, the story was whatever. Yeah, it didn't outright offend me, and I wouldn't call it a piece of shit or anything, but it was just really dull. Especially for it to be the 100th movie from Disney! It's just completely underwhelming in almost every aspect. Meh. 5. While it did lead with an interesting premise, and I got out to a good start, I felt like this movie kinda loses itself pretty fast after the 20-minute introduction. It just doesn't really grip me afterwards, and it comes off as a little confusing as well. There was a lot of elements to it that I did enjoy though, so I feel like a 6 is fair. One of the more unique things I've watched is Wasteland, a collection of animated shorts done by Johnny Peppers that tells somewhat of a very loose story. The animation and voice acting is rough, but it only adds to the overall atmosphere of this film. I found it to be a very engaging watch, and I love the themes and concepts she explored with them, both for serious reasons and funny reasons. A couple of the shorts left a little to be desired, but I felt as though it still all really worked well by the end. High 8. I don't know what the fuck this was, but it sucked. 4. Pretty colors, neat visual style, but it bored the hell out of me. This sort of thing just works better as a short film, not 80 minutes long. Meh. 5. Really sad depiction of the aftermath of a bomb near an old couple's home. Animation style was really cool and the writing is well done, being taken straight from the original comic, which it's an adaptation of. Not really something I'd rewatch, but it was an interesting yet sad viewing. High 7. If a fever dream had a visual depiction, this is the movie. This entire thing is so dreamy, and the way it's told, presented, animated, it's actually really, really cool. My problem with it is that it does drag on, unfortunately. I found myself getting a little bored towards the middle. A big portion of it could have been trimmed down, honestly. But it makes up for it for being so uniquely presented. High 7. Absolutely love the approach this movie does with the no dialogue, let the visuals tell the story style, but I'm not a fan of the conflict. The robot being stuck on the beach and a bunch of contrived reasons come up as to why the dog can't get him back. While it does tell its story with a bunch of metaphors about growing up and friendship and learning how to let go, I would have preferred it told a little differently, especially with its very unsatisfying ending, which to this day, I can't seem to get over. Still though, it's a cute movie with a lot of scenes to reflect on. High 7. This movie feels like a special on streaming services, not really a true sequel to the franchise. It's just okay. It does nothing new or overly fantastic, it's just sort of average. I do love the climax though. The main villain shapeshifting is a pretty cool threat, but the whole thing just feels pretty surface level with some weak pacing, an uneven experience overall. 6. Was looking forward to this movie all year long, and it hit extremely hard for me. This movie could have not come at a more perfect time in my life. Dealing with my own anxiety and insecurity issues, especially with bad low self-esteem and even trying to find my own true sense of self, it was all just so perfectly represented here while continuing that amazing creativity from the first movie that I expected to see. In my opinion, it's a pretty flawless sequel. I have little to no complaints about this one at all. It's absolutely beautiful. 10. Wanted to check out some more of Ralph Bakshi's work, and I've heard good things about this one in particular. Sadly, it didn't really leave much of an impression on me, but I'm able to appreciate its satire, the social commentary, and the themes. What a wild time for this movie to be out. 6. Well, that was certainly a Studio Ghibli film, alright. Great animation, very creative set pieces, but once again, I just have no idea what's going on for most of it. I do like the metaphors the characters represent and the emotional weight regarding Mahito and his mother, but it's filled with plenty of head scratchers that just leaves me with more questions than answers. Still though, it's a cool watch, even though it ends kinda abruptly. Low 7. Really great coming of age story. I was gripped with it all the way throughout and it was blooming with so much personality. My only gripe with it is that it kinda lost a bit of steam toward the end, and the ending itself is a little flat. Otherwise, it was a really great watch that should definitely be appreciated more. High 8. This movie depresses me. I adore werewolves. Literally my favorite thing in life. But it needs to be done right. Everything that this movie does is wrong. Very depressing watch for me. 3. Back to Studio Ghibli with one that I actually thought was really great. I love the energy this movie provided with its characters and the wacky premise. Very entertaining and fun, even though it does get a little more serious in the back half. High 8. Really cool animation style, done with a story that's decent for the most part. I can see a lot of people getting a lot of kick for this one, but for me, it was just that. Decent. Low 7. Everyone really praised this movie and gave it extremely high ratings throughout the year. I finally got a chance to see it myself, and I thought it was just okay. Like, sure, the writing is well done, the animation's interesting at some points, but the way the story is told with these characters, I don't know. I guess I'm just not into sweaty, serious, dramatic anime guys as much as other people, but it was still an okay time overall, just not for me. 6. Pretty cool sci-fi movie here with a story that I've come to more or less expect in this type of setting. Nothing mind-blowing, honestly, but it was a pretty cool viewing with an interesting ending. High 7. Well, here's one to add to the guilty pleasures list. This movie is fucking stupid, but I don't know. I kinda found myself enjoying it. I love transformation as a storytelling device, so obviously a bit of my bias side is kinda coming out, but I had fun with it. Even though, yes, it is a pretty dumb movie with dumb moments, but it could have been way, way worse. Low 7. I admired this man very much for making this entire thing on his own. You can tell that it's done by one person, since a lot of it does feel rough, especially with its pacing and certain moments of motion, but it was still an interesting experience, and I appreciate all his work that he did for this. But he definitely topped himself with a later entry that we'll get into. Low 7. If was a movie that I really had no confidence in it being good, and had no plans of actually watching it, but I decided to give it a chance anyway, and I ended up having a great time with it. It's very charming, it's cute, it's heartfelt, and I love the emotional payoffs by the end. Can't always judge a book by its cover. Low 8. There is a lot of great stuff here, and it deserves the praise it's been getting. However, my problems simply come down with two aspects of the plot. The Bright Bill drama in the 35-minute mark was pretty meh for me. It felt a little been there, done that. The bullying geese, the "you're not my mom" moment. It was just kinda eye-rolly for me personally. Luckily, it didn't take up too much of the movie, and it wasn't the main focus for the entire plot of the film. And second, the octopus robot villain that comes in the last 25 minutes or so, I just felt like her overly antagonistic approach was too fast and forced. Visually, the entire climax was stunning, but the pacing just needed more work. Besides that, it's still a great movie to watch unfold, with spectacular visuals, a beautiful score, and very memorable characters. It's just that those two aspects hold it back for me a little personally. Low 8. My dad is the true Transformers geek here, so this movie is more for him, but I still checked it out for myself, and it's actually a great time. Not all the humor worked for me, and the antagonist was also been there, done that, but I felt like it still worked well by the end, and the dynamic between Orion and D16, who eventually become Optimus Prime and Megatron, was really well handled. Low 8. It's like a French take on a Studio Ghibli film, but for some reason, this hit really hard for me. Its art style and animation is very simple, but it goes about its storytelling in such a creative and beautiful way. And once I picked apart the visual metaphors it was going for by the end, I found myself tearing up uncontrollably due to the context that is there, but not shoved in your face. I admired it a lot. 9. While I felt like the characters should have been fleshed out a little more, I was feeling as though that good chunk of the movie felt like a montage, and the whole alternate what-if scenario section towards the end kind of confused me. It's still a wonderfully animated, relatable, and really tragic story brought to life. High 7. Cute watch. I recently got into the Disney gang lately, and I just wanted to watch the movie with all of them featured. It's nothing amazing, but it was entertaining. High 7. Very pretty movie, and a big improvement over the director's previous work, Away. However, a part of me wanted a little more in its story, and for it to go in deeper directions than it ended up doing, especially with its somewhat abrupt ending. Still though, there was so much to talk about with this movie, and it keeps you guessing and theorizing about what really happened in this world. It's really cool. High 8. I've seen this guy's last movie, which was Mary and Max, and thought it was a pretty good drama done in a unique style. This movie feels a lot like Mary and Max in a lot of ways, but I think I prefer this one a little more. It's very dark, but funny, heartfelt, but sad. It does everything and tells its story pretty well. By the end, it ended up getting me emotionally, which I wasn't expecting. Pretty great stuff. Low 8. Woo! Well, that's where I've been all year. I've been watching movies. And drawing. And managing my cartoon characters. And my Twitter. And life. Yeah, I know I keep saying I'm sorry and disappearing for months on end, but it's just sort of the norm nowadays. I could say that I'm officially returning and wanting to produce more videos, but it all comes down to energy, time, and motivation. I can't promise when I'll make another video, but I hope this one holds you guys over for now, and I'll try not to make you guys wait an entire year. I really gotta get better at that. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys found some of these movies interesting enough to check on your own if you haven't already. And overall, I hope you guys have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.